Does Kentucky's Commonwealth Accountability Testing System, or CATS, require proficiency for all in 2014?
Hello, my name is Richard Innes. I've been working for years to determine what we can really expect from the Kentucky Education Reform Act in its closeout accountability year of 2014. Today I'm going to share some of my findings with you about the shockingly low levels of student proficiency that we can expect in schools that will escape all accountability under the state's Commonwealth Accountability Testing System in 2014. I think you'll agree with me that the standards and end goals in the CATS program are simply unacceptably low.
To begin our process, it's important to understand the real or effective goal, as we're going to call it, in the CATS program. You have to know how schools are graded in this system. Schools conduct testing and get a score from CATS every year, but they only get a final grade from CATS every 2 years. For example, to get the first biennium score, the individual school scores from 1999 and the year 2000 were averaged together. To get the second biennium score, the individual scores from the year 2001 and 2002 were averaged together, and so forth, and that process will continue all the way to the final biennium, which will be in 2013 and 2014. Now, at the end of each biennium, the schools receive one final CATS grade, and there are 3 of those. Those 3 CATS grades are meeting goal, or progressing, or assistance. Now, meeting goal is the desired target for each school at the end of each 2-year biennium. Schools fully meet the Kentucky Department of Education's target, and they can qualify for full rewards when they're in the meeting goal category. Now, the progressing zone really isn't much different from the meeting goal zone. The schools miss the proclaimed target for each 2-year biennium, but they fall within a totally hold harmless area. There are no sanctions for these schools, and they can even qualify for rewards. Basically, the progressing zone is the effective goal for schools in CATS. Because there's no consequences, rewards, and no real stigma either, the school really doesn't care if it gets into this zone. There simply is no penalty for being there. Now, the last CATS scoring zone is in the assistance zone. This is the sanction zone. Schools definitely don't want to be here. However, I should mention that a school in assistance also qualifies for extra help. They get money, they get extra assistance from the Kentucky Department of Education. So if a school needs to be in the assistance zone, it really should be there. It should not avoid consequences. And this gets us to an important point. To understand the real impacts of CATS, you have to understand how schools receive their final biennium score. Now, schools receive their final score using something called the CATS growth chart. It's used to assign schools a score for each biennium. So let's build a CATS growth chart to see how the process works. First, we'll start with the borders and the scales. The vertical scale shows the possible scores that a school could receive on CATS. It starts at 0 down at the bottom left and goes up to a maximum possible score of 140 points. The horizontal axis shows the 2-year closeout point for each CATS biennium, starting with the year 2000, going to 2002, 2004, and so forth out to the year 2014. In order to construct our CATS growth chart, we have to know something about our sample school's statistics, and we show those here. Our sample school had a CATS accountability index in 1999 of 69.8. In the year 2000, the index was 74.4, and that means the average for the 1999-2000 period, which will be the biennium accountability index score for this school, is 72.1. Another important factor which varies for each school in Kentucky is the measurement error in CATS. For this particular school, we assume that error is 1.1 points. Now, I use both the first biennium score of 72.1 and the test measurement error to calculate something called a baseline score for this school. And this allows for the fact that there is test measurement error in the CATs and treats the school fairly for the existence of that measurement error. We get a baseline score of 71.0 for this school. We need to know one last number before we can start to construct the CATS growth chart for this school. Using the final CATS goal of 100 in 2014 and subtracting the test measurement error from that for this specific school, we find that for our sample school, the true meeting goal score won't be 100 in 2014, it will be a score of 98.9. To begin constructing our CATS growth chart's assistance zone area, we'll start with that score of 71, the baseline score, plot that at the year 2000, and then extend it horizontally to the year 2002. To finish our assistance zone line, we'll extend it out from where we ended in the year 2002 to the year 2014. At that point, the line will reach a score slightly less than 80 points. In fact, it will be 80 points minus the 1.1 point measurement error for a score of 78.9. That includes the measurement error and an additional 20-point buffer that we'll explain later. The result is that we now have defined the area of the assistance zone. If a school's score plots anywhere in this red area in the given year, then it will be considered in assistance and will require assistance and also sanctions, and can be eligible for financial help as well. Now we need to add another line to outline the next zone, the progressing zone, on our graph. This one is more simply constructed. We start with the baseline score of 71 for this school and then go out to the effective goal for the year 2014, which is 98.9. So with these two lines drawn, we can now color in the area known as the progressing zone. If a school's score in any biennium falls within this yellow progressing zone, it's immune from all sanctions. And it generally does not qualify for any additional help either. Basically, the school is treated as though it has met all of the goals. And it can even qualify for rewards at a somewhat reduced rate, all the way out to 2014. Now we can color in the last zone, which is known as the meeting goal zone, shown in green. If a school's two-year biennium score plots in the meeting goal zone area, it's considered to be meeting all of the goals required of it under CATS, and a school in this zone can also qualify for a full share of rewards if they're being paid. Now that we've got the CATS growth chart constructed, it's important to understand one thing. Despite what you've heard from the Kentucky Department of Education and many other people, 100 is not the effective goal of the CATS program. In fact, the effective goal for every school in the state of Kentucky is something less than a score of 80. For our sample school, the score is 78.9. And for every school in the state, the effective goal is much lower than what we're being told officially by people across the Commonwealth. And that brings us to the really big problem with the way the CATS system is actually scored. It's that 20-point buffer used to separate the meeting goal zone from the assistance zone in 2014. Where did that buffer come from? What is the scientific justification? I've been asking those questions for years and I've never gotten satisfactory answers. It appears that that buffer exists just to make sure more mediocre schools do not fall into the sanctions category when CATS completes in 2014.